is symmetric, let's say between negative a, and I have an odd function. So these two areas are identical. So the integral from negative a to a from f of x dx, if the function is odd, the answer is 0. If I have a same situation but for an even function and symmetric interval, this is very important. Both conditions, symmetric interval and odd function, the answer is 0. Symmetric interval but even function. So the integral from negative a to a from f of x dx is twice, and this is very helpful, the integral from 0 to a from f of x dx. Very helpful, because you saw how much more work was for me, for you, to plug in a number here versus to plug in 0. So much easier when it's 0 as the lower limit of the integral, right? So knowing that the interval is symmetric and the function is even, this is basically twice this area. So it's so much easier to calculate. But only if the interval is symmetric and the function is one or the other. If the interval is symmetric but the function is not odd, is not even, I cannot use any of the concepts. Just for your information. Okay, let's also look at a I don't know, accumulated sales. I don't know what interests you. Total pollution. We already looked at some physics. Or something else.
Can we do 92?
Yes, let's look at 92. Accumulated sales. I want you to have enough examples for homework and test 3. That's all I'm trying to do. Which page am I on? I'm on 10. Okay, so 92. I'll copy it and then stop sharing. Blue Tape Incorporated estimates that sales are growing continuously at a rate up. Okay, so S prime of t equals 0.5 e to t. S prime of t is in dollars per day. And t is in number of days. On what day will accumulated sales first exceed 10,000? So we want S of t to be 10,000, right? And on what day will accumulated sales first exceed 10,000? Okay. So first of all, we do not have this function, right? We don't have. We do have the rate of change of that, but we can determine the function. So S of t is basically the integral from S prime of t dt, which is the integral from 0.5 e to t dt. Constant in front, and which function prime is e to t? Well, it's the nicest function of all. It's e to t, plus a constant c. So now the question is, find t such that S of t is greater than 10,000. Okay, so what I have to do is put this in here, but let's think about what we do with C. We need a condition for C before. All I have to do is just put this in the inequality and solve. But the question is, how do I consider, what do I consider for C? So let's go back to the problem. Are growing at a constant rate given, okay, per day on day t. On what day will, so we have to come up with something for t. So when, it was something for C. So what do we say? Because it says estimates the sales. estimated that it says, okay, continuous rate such and such. So when
wouldn't C cancel if you're taking the
But,
integral, like if you're taking a definite integral?
but I can't. I don't have a definite integral because I don't have t. I cannot do that.
I mean,
I don't have
aren't
t.
Aren't the bounds of the integral, wouldn't the lower bound be 0 and the upper bound be t?
But as we discussed last time, if you remember, that would be okay. Let me explain again. So if I have something like 0 to t, or in this case 0 to x, or anything else from f of x dx, this is a function of t. So the only thing I can do is just differentiate it. If one of these two limits is not a number, I cannot apply the fundamental theorem of calculus. That's not possible. The fundamental theorem of calculus is applicable only if I have a to b, not t or x or a variable. So I cannot use that. So the idea about C is, let's analyze so let's determine a point. So when time is 0, initially, how many do we sell initially? So in my opinion, when I start the production, I don't sell anything. So when on day 1 or day 0, actually, I have 0. Because I have to determine this, right? Because I have to put it in here. So I have 0.5 e to t plus whatever c is greater than 10,000. I can't solve something like this if I have two variables. Okay, so I have to make a decision on this. So when time is 0, what do I get? What do I sell? Because I have to determine the constant. If I don't determine the constant, if you say the constant is 0, then I will get an answer. If you say the constant is not 0, I will get a different answer. But I have to determine this. And no, I cannot use something like this. I cannot have from 0 to t.
But that's the way you wrote it there, where it's g of t in this. You put it as g of t equals the integral from 0 to t of f of x. But what if it was the integral of 0 to t of f of t?
But you can't do that. You can't do that. It's not possible. So as I explained to you last time when we talked, so I can show you. We passed the time, so you're free to go. We'll finish it up next time. So, but I want to talk to Nick because we had this discussion last time, and I have handy the calculus book. We have to make a decision on C. So see, this is not possible. This is a function given in the form of an integral. So if I have t in the integral, and that is x, then this must be g of x. And you can only differentiate this. You cannot determine anything. So I can never have a variable unless I'm asked to differentiate this function, which is not the case. You cannot have variables as the limits of integration. You cannot do that unless you are differentiating the function.